Good afternoon. I'm back. And so I want to do kind of a broadcast on where we're at, what it's looking like, talk some strategy. I've spent a good portion of the day kind of talking about and talking to different senators, representatives, just to try to get a lay of the land up there and to kind of figure out, what our next move is and how we continue to move forward in this process. And so there's some things that we should be focusing on, and I'm going to talk about them. And so I'm letting kind of all my computers start up, and we'll get into it. So I hope you guys are having a good day, and we'll just kind of, I'm going to refresh my screen, and we'll get into it. So I think what's important to note here is we still have moves to make. Okay, so we're moving in a direction that we need to go, and so that's a good thing. And so we're trying to strategize to see what kind of makes the most sense, okay, going forward. And so this morning I put out a call on the in the Facebook group about we should be contacting Fahey, also Wagner. And so I put all the information in the post there in our Facebook group. And so the whole point of that was to hammer them to talk about, you guys need to end this session, okay? It's not going the direction you want it to go. It's not benefiting, Oregonians, especially Oregon gun owners, and we're paying attention. And they're used to us not engaging with them. They're used to just kind of running. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. And they're used to kind of ruling the roost up there. And so I think what's kind of abnormal for them is having us weigh in, right? And weigh in an effective way. And so, something that I've been kind of really trying to work on is obviously the perception of them from us and our perception of them, right? So, they still work for us, and it's our job to make sure that we engage with them effectively so they can realize that. And so I had a really important conversation a few minutes ago with one of our representatives up there. And so we talked strategy. We talked about, the walkout. We're running out of time. And so by the way the Oregon's constitution is set up, the Oregon legislature is required to have a balanced or have a budget before the end of the session, right? And so we're coming up on the end of the session. The session ends on June 29th, and that's the worst case scenario. And so there's some things that we have that are going in our favor, and there's things that we really, we're kind of got our fingers crossed, and I want to talk about them today, okay? So there's a lot of talk about walkouts, okay? Walkouts, they can be an effective tool if we're in a position to utilize them properly. Okay, there was a Senate bill or measure 113 a couple years ago, which basically says if our senators or representatives have 10 or more unexcused absences, they're disqualified for running for reelection. So it's a way to weaponize the system against the people that we need for them to be able to walk out to protect us, right? It is a strategy. It is a thing for them to deny quorum because the legislature has to have quorum to be able to pass these bills. Typically, it's going to be a 51 to 49, unless it's a tax bill, or some sort of amendment to the Oregon Constitution needs 2/3 of both chambers to be able to vote in on that. And so that's just something to think about as a procedure. Okay. And so kind of where we're at now is with the walkouts. The walkouts, they don't pull well. Okay. So there's a lot of people that are not a fan of the walkouts. The walkouts for many years, it was a strategy that we had. It wasn't very popular, but it was the only thing that we had. And so basically what they would do is they would just walk out, they would deny quorum, and then that would put them in a position where they could come back, and then we can kind of talk in a more civil tone about all the different moving parts that are going on. It could be a tax bill, it could be something else that's in the Oregon legislature that they're trying to get through. And so, with that tool being taken away from us because of that measure 113, it's put us in a position where it's not really as effective as it used to be. Okay, so It's common for us that don't understand the process. And to be honest with you, I didn't know the process until now when I talked to the representative up there, and she kind of broke down the whole process and how it works and what it looks like and what they're trying to maneuver. And it was very enlightening for me. And so I learned a lot. And I took 3 pages of notes in this short meeting that I had with her. And so we're talking about the walkout. The best thing that we could hope for when it comes to a walkout is after they already have the budget passed. Okay. Currently, they have not come to an agreement on the budget. So, walking out before the budget is a bad thing, because what that does is that puts us back into a special session. And the way it was explained to me today is with that special session, there's no guardrails. Okay. So they can literally do whatever they want for us, however long to do it, because there's no, constitutional protection for us as gun owners, right? So, currently in the long session, they have a definitive date when they have to be out of the building. It's in the Constitution, so we have some protection there. So, in a special session or a short session, there's no time constraints. They can literally they could propose any kind of legislation. They don't have to let anything die. Just keep it going in indefinite until they get everything that they want. Okay, and it was kind of my thought that they would do it kind of out of spite, because our side is kind of taking the football and going home. So something to think about there. So I learned a lot about the walkout process, and so could be an effective tool if used appropriately. And so at this point, I'm not advocating a walkout. What I'm advocating is, because we still got time, we're still making moves, is we start hammering the Senate and Representative Democrats, right? They need to hear from us, especially if you're in their district. Okay, really, really important is what I'll do is in this video, I'll put the comment or in the comments the link where you can go and look up your representative. So you basically put in your zip code, it'll tell you who your senator is, who your representative is, and that way you can contact them directly and say, hey, this is a bad bill. We don't want any part of this. We request you say no. Okay. And so that's where you have to understand, what we're looking at right now. And this is all strategy, right? They're trying to do what they can with the tools that they have. One thing that was brought up is the fact that Julie Fahey, which I made a call out earlier to contact her office, is she's not wanting to budge on these anti-gun bills. Okay, so one thing to think about for us as gun owners is every session there's going to be an anti-gun bill. Okay, the reason they do that, and this is from my meeting just a few minutes ago, is they're super popular for Senate or Representative Democrats. It is a slam dunk. They put up an anti-gun bill, no matter how bad it is, no matter how egregious it is, it does really well with their constituents. Okay, and so that's where we have to understand we're going to continue to be beat until we start showing up, and we have to show up. We have to vote. We have to help our candidates keep their seats. We got to help them in their election, their reelection, and so, or getting involved ourselves. You could start with the city council. You could start with the county board of commission. You could start at the Oregon state legislature. But the whole point is we need more people to get involved, right? We need our side to be able to put forth our candidates. And so that's something that's really, really important to note here is we only lose because we don't get involved. And so that was kind of the message that I got in that meeting. And I know that it's hard. I mean, we're trying to raise families. We're trying to pay taxes. We're trying to keep ourselves out of jail because all these anti-gun laws. And so it's hard to engage civically, and I get it. And my goal is to make this as easy as I can for you guys, so you guys feel like you're part of the process, and so that you guys can learn along with me, because I'm still learning too. There's things I learn every day, and the way I learn is I learn from just getting involved, and so that's where I'm thinking of what our next steps look like, and our next steps most likely is going to be the best bang for our buck is going to be to contact those Senate and the Representative Democrats, right? Let them know that you're paying attention. You're not going to stand for any other restriction on our rights, and we're going to continue to push back on this stuff. One thing we have to note is in between sessions, it's really, really important is we're active on social media. We're letting, like, if we see a good person with a gun that stops a shooting, we should be publicizing that. We should have that in front of them. We should be tagging these Senate Democrats. They basically get one side of the story every time, and it's always from those red shirts. And those red shirts are not working on our behalf. They're working to literally destroy our state and our way of life. And so we have to push back on that. So they're working on balancing the budget. Okay, so the only time like a walkout in this situation would be good for us is if they had a budget. Okay, if they get the budget, then they can walk out because then there's going to be nothing that's going to bring them back in the building. Okay, so the best thing that we can do is we should be paying attention. We should know that if there's a budget that is going to be passed, after that, then it's time to walk. Okay, until then, we cannot have them walk because what that's going to do is it's going to create a perfect storm for the other side. The other side is going to hit us with every anti-gun bill that's been in the pike this session. Okay, so we had 3075, we had 243, 3076, we had 947, 1015, 473. So there's all these bills, right? They would hammer us on because there's going to be no constitutional protection for us because it's a special session. Okay, so the best thing that we can do is make sure that we're paying attention. We're making sure that our representatives, our senators, we get a budget passed. Okay, once the budget's passed, then we go to the next phase. Okay, is there enough time for these to move through the system? Because if there's not, they're going to time out. Then it's a win for us. Okay, if there's still enough time and they're going to try to hammer these anti-gun bills through, then it would be appropriate to encourage the walkout. Okay, so that's the only time I'm going to get behind a walkout is because they've already got the budget. They don't have the budget yet. Okay, so that's just something to think about. I'm not going to endorse a walkout. I'm not going to talk about a walkout. I'm not going to support a walkout until we have a budget. Okay, that's the best thing I can tell you guys is for us to really get the win that we need here is we need a budget and we need the session to die, and hopefully these anti-gun bills will time out. So that's kind of the goal. And so I just want to give you that update. That's where we're at. We're still in the process. Senate Bill 243 did get moved to tomorrow for the third reading with House Bill 3076. It's now live on OLIS. I did see that. Okay, it's scheduled for tomorrow. And so we'll know tomorrow, what they're going to be doing on the 26th. So they're going to be really kind of hush hush about what they're doing going forward. And so I'll try to give you guys the information as best I can, as timely and quickly as I can. And so, I just think it's really, really important to note that's where we're at. So got some comments here. Yes, I think if we can do that, I think that would be really, really great. That would be good time well served. There is, if we can get some face-to-face meetings. And the benefit with the face-to-face meetings, Brian, is if we can get in the building, get in there, even if they're on the floor, we can still have conversations with the staffers or the chief of staffs. So there's things that we can do there. Okay, so it would be probably productive. I'm not sure if I can get up there because I have other things that are going on, but I'm monitoring everything in real time. So as soon as I get a change, I'm also getting information from our senators up there, also our representatives. So I like to think that I have a pretty good pulse of what's happening up there, and so I can get this information to you guys as quickly as I can. And the whole goal is just to make sure that you're part of this process. We have calls to action. The calls to action right now would be to contact all Democrats up there, let them know that you're in opposition of this bill, of House Bill 3076, Senate Bill 243. Those are a no-go for you. I really think that, and 3076 has the furthest road to travel, just because of where they're at in the process. And if the process is, it's going to get the third reading tomorrow, which is when they'll vote on it if it doesn't get pushed to the next day, because they still have bills that they're working on from previous days. And so then it would have to go, the Senate would have to be in session on the other side for them to receive the bill. Okay. So they have to receive the bill. If they can't receive the bill, then they lose a day. Okay. Days are what's the most important right now. Okay. So if we can punt something to the next day, that's going to take a day off the clock. That is our friend right now. Okay. It's really important to note that. Okay. So next up is 3076. 3076, it gets the third reading tomorrow. If it is passed out, obviously the Senate would have to be in session on the other side for them to receive it, okay? And then it has to get the first reading, the second reading, and then the third reading, and then it would have to, be voted on there. So it could be 3 days potentially there. Best case scenario, okay? And so that's just something to be mindful of there. One thing about Senate Bill 243 is it is already gone through the Senate side because it started on the Senate, but they added an amendment because they're greedy, right? And so that's where they really did themselves a disservice because now this thing has to go back to the Senate because the Senate has to concur with what came out of Ways and Means on the House side, the joint subcommittee there, and they have to approve the amendment, which obviously they're going to. But it's something that they're going to have to do to keep this thing alive, and they have to do it within a certain amount of time, or it's going to just time out. So, that's kind of where I'm at. I just want to give you this update, let you guys kind of know where we're at. It's not time to panic. It's time to remain calm. Now is the time to make sure that we are firing up those phones. We're calling our senators or representatives up there if they're Democrats, and also sending them emails. Okay, so be polite, be professional, but just be firm and say, "Hey, no more. This is crazy. This is not going to do anything to save lives. This is all political posturing. Is all it is. Okay, it's bad for Oregon." So that's where I'm at. So banning my guns is not going to solve gun crimes. Period. Full stop. So that's kind of where I'm at. I said a lot, and I hope it all makes sense. And obviously, when it's time for a walkout, if we get to that place, then we will obviously, hopefully, get them to walk out. But now it's not the time. And so I wanted you guys to kind of know how the process works because I learned how the process works just now. And so I know there's a lot of people that say, we need to walk out, yada, yada, yada. I think strategically it makes sense, but we're going to pay a tremendous price if they walk out before the budget's passed. Okay. They could literally do whatever they want in a special session. There would be nothing for us to do to stop it. Okay. And they would have 2 months to plan for it. Okay. So the special session most likely would be in September. There's a lot of time between, now and then for them to plan on what they're going to do to us. So just something to think about there. So want to give you guys that update. Hope you guys are having a good day. We're almost done. I swear we're almost done. We just got to stay in the fight. Okay. So we want us. Absolutely. This is a really great comment right here, Jason. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Is we might win this skirmish right now, but we're going to lose the war. Okay. And I would say, and I talked to our attorney, Tony Allo today, because we're kind of on the same page here. That with that special session 3075, if that comes back in the mix, that could be bad for our appeal on Measure 114. So there's a lot to lose. I swear, and it just makes more sense for us to just kind of keep where we're at. Let's make sure we contact Democrats, let them know that we're in opposition of this stuff. Let them hear from you, especially if you're their constituent, and make sure that we buy our senators and representatives time to figure out what the next steps are. And I swear, as soon as I know, and I'm having multiple conversations every day with them, just checking the temperature up there, saying, "Hey, where we're at? Is it time yet?" Because as soon as it's time, I'll let you guys know. But until then, I'm going to stand down and just do the work that I need to do, and that means I'm going to call these Democrats and make my voice be heard. So that's the biggest thing that I can impress upon you guys. Yeah. So right here, we're I would say we're closer to it's the ninth inning, right? And we're the first up, and we have three outs ahead of us. But we're getting really, really close, and I'm proud of the people that are involved and what they're doing. And I've learned a lot. I hope you've learned a lot from this process, and we still have work to do, and we still have moves to make. So I don't want you guys to get down in the dumps. I want you to, stay focused, stay rallied, because I think at the end of the day, we're going to come out victorious. Knock on wood, right? Because I feel that they had a bad strategy. And I feel that, obviously this is me being super optimistic. Obviously things change quickly up there, as we know. And I don't want to eat crow, but I feel just procedurally the way things are looking is all signs are pointing towards they're going to run out the clock and they're going to run out of time. So don't quote me on that, but that's just what my gut is telling me. So, and I hope I'm correct. So other than that, I'm going to get off here. You guys have a good day. We'll touch bases. Make sure I'll put the link in the video. Find out who your representative or your senator is. If they're a Democrat, please contact them. Call them, email them. Be respectful, be polite, but let them know that you will not stand for any further restriction. So I'll keep you posted. Once I know more, we'll do another video. So thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.